Hi, it's Angela Torville and Mike Torville, your hosts of Get Moving, the real estate roadmap with the at-home team, where we're going to provide you with the education, tools, and unfiltered talk to keep you in the driver's seat. Thanks for joining. Welcome back to Get Moving with the at-home team. I'm Angela Torville, your host, and my co-host Michael Torville.
Thanks, Angela. And today we have our guest, Cheryl Malandrinos, a broker associate and realtor at HB Real Estate, and also past president of the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley.
Easy for you to say.
Otherwise, RAPV,
Yes.
which is easier to say, but you've got a lot of experience in a relatively short time.
I do.
Yeah.
I've been very blessed.
Yeah.
It was a career change after being home with my children. I had left corporate America, spent 11 years at home with my children, and decided to enter the real estate market in 2014.
What made you do that out of the blue? You just woke up one day?
Oh, I wish, no. But no, I needed something that was going to allow me to have some work-life balance. That may or may not be true in real estate, honestly.
I was just going to say, what were you thinking? But anyway.
That's what they make
Didn't
it
know
look like.
then.
Yeah.
And anytime I set my mind to it, I just go ahead and do something. So I took an accelerated course, then got my license, and the rest, as they say, is history.
No regrets?
Only that I was not born independently wealthy and can't invest in more real estate.
Ah, I like
Okay.
that, yeah. Investments are a big topic usually on the show. But you specialize in something.
Yeah.
I specialize in lots of stuff. So, I'm kidding. No, actually, what I specialize in is helping people 55 plus make housing decisions. I decided to get my senior real estate specialist designation many years ago. I sat in the seat and realized I'm the target market, and I was then depressed. But at any rate, I found that as my business shifted, I was working with more people my age or older that were facing, they had a large home, their kids have now moved out, they're trying to make decisions on their golden years. And also as part of that, I found myself really working with families whose loved ones had passed away, and now they had an asset they needed to divest. Which is always a very emotional time, and so it takes a little bit of extra compassion as well as that experience to help guide them along in those decisions. So that's really where I've been mostly focused for at least the last 5 years.
One of the things I'm just curious, and a little off of your area of expertise, but when you have a situation like that, a lot of it's in proper preparation, right, in terms of a will and to avoid probate issues and the long-term resolutions that are painful for families to go through when they experience a loss like that, and then on top of it to have to go through all these legal things whether or not they're going to keep the house. Again, that's prior to the point when you meet with them, but I think that kind of preparation is very important to avoid a lot of headaches.
It is, and that's why I always encourage preparing early. One of my experiences was I became power of attorney for both my in-laws.
Okay.
And let me tell you, that's not an easy thing for any family member. And I was very blessed because I had an understanding family, limited siblings that were involved, honestly. So everybody was pretty much on board, but the caregiving ramps up. And oftentimes people who are caregiving are also still raising children or having children go through college. They're still working most times. And it's very challenging to balance that against watching your parents and other loved ones age. So again, it's a very emotional time. It takes a certain touch. And that's why preparing as quickly as possible and not waiting until life limits your choices is so important. And that's, I do some senior seminars and things like that with other panels of experts who focus on helping people, seniors and their families make these decisions because it's really a niche market. And there's a lot of need there, and you need the right set of people to help you along.
Well,
And it goes back to whether it's investing or planning for something, and then the old saying is, when's the best time to start preparing? And the answer was yesterday. The next best day is today. And so you just kind of keep going with that. And he said the sooner the better, without question. Yeah.
Agreed.
Otherwise,
it's a
you-
hard topic to
yeah.
bring up. You know, I mean, Mike, you're my in-law. I could be Cheryl.
And I'm elderly too, so
yeah,
hey,
like
you got
really
that
close.
going. Yeah.
And I have the kids in college. Like that's my MO right now, and we're not talking about that. I know you probably got things, but it's usually happens. I would imagine when a major life event happens to the
Yeah.
family, and
Yeah.
now they're going. We have to do this yesterday, and
Right.
you're put in that situation and that fire. Really, I would imagine, and it's a lot of emotion to hold.
It is. And so my father-in-law, God rest his soul, he had a chronic diagnosis. He also had a cardiac history and was diabetic. Mobile, living on their own, and then all of a sudden in 2015 experienced a fall, and from 2015 until he passed away in 2020, it was just a series of downhill events. And that's why you know what? You might not be ready now to move. You might not be ready to start thinking about what the next 5 years look like. Mm-hmm. But the reality is long-term care is expensive and requires some thoughtful planning. So reaching out to your estate planning attorney ahead of time is crucial before you need it, because a Mass Health, they have look back rules. So if you don't make those decisions early enough as to what you're going to do with your asset, you risk losing it.
Yeah.
And this is not to be scary for people, but that's the reality.
It is.
So start having those conversations, and they're hard because people are losing their independence. Like, they have raised the children, and now the children are saying, hey, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, whoever it is, aunt, uncle, you need to start making some choices to prepare. And it's not an easy conversation, which is why I offer conversation pieces, and I send them out to family members who are usually it's like the power of attorney that's reaching out to me and asking for help to have that conversation piece,
Yeah.
ready for them.
I'm curious. Obviously it's a lot up front. It's a lot of planning. Do we go into an assisted living home? What are some other options? Are you seeing trends happening because of the cost of the assistance, and maybe people are thinking of other ways to live right now? I'm hearing of some trends, so just wondering.
Nationally, multi-generational housing is a thing. So that was a very real thing in the beginning of this country. It's not unusual here, considering in the Commonwealth we have some of the oldest housing stock in the nation, that you will see very similar homes placed next to one another with no divider, and somebody lived here and the other family member lived here, and then suddenly those are coming to the market because both are being sold either separately or, again, attracting that multi-generational market. Massachusetts, having passed that ADU law by right, has been a big help, because housing affordability, as we know, is a real issue here in the Commonwealth. So the reality is we're seeing some of those needs being met by some of these trends, but it's also not for everybody.
Right. I mean, if you need a lot of, you need a full-time nurse or things like that, that's a consideration. But I'm seeing a trend. I mean, we have someone in our family doing that. They're building an ADU now, right, in Agawam for their parents. And to me, it's such a feel-good situation, right? The parents get to see the kids be raised and grow, the grandkids, right? And you have the family support. And I don't know, I love that setup. And I like that I'm seeing and hearing more of that multi-generational living.
And on another side, too, another trend we're seeing nationally is cohabitation. So primarily driven by single women, whether they are widowed or whether they are single and they're looking to share expenses. We're seeing that as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing it. Actually, it's funny because me and my girlfriend dream about that when we're going to just, live together with the kids, and, the husbands can come around when they want, but we're going to buy a nice house near the beach and live our best life. But it's a joke, but it's happening, Yeah, that's That's a lot to hold, Cheryl. And I'm sure there's not many specialists in this clientele, because it's more than just listing a home and maybe finding another. It's so much more than the property itself of what you're diving into with these families.
And it's a long-term goal. So we set a timeline.
Okay.
So that's the best thing. What I'm really good at, honestly, is helping people work backwards from their goal.
I agree.
So we are setting that goal to, okay, when do we want to move, or when do we think our unit is available? Because with assisted living facilities, with attainable housing facilities where you have to qualify income-wise, all those kinds of things, age restricted, there are oftentimes wait lists. And so we're working off that dictates part of our timeline, but it's really helpful to have that, here's this end goal of what we're looking for an ideal, and then back it up and say, okay, a year from now we're doing these tasks. 6 months from now it's these tasks. 3 months, 2 months, 1 month, 6 weeks. Backing into it and helping them have something tangible, whether it's digital or in their hands, paper, to look at, post on the refrigerator and go, okay, are we meeting our deadlines to meet the goal that we're looking for? And realize in real estate, just like with anything else, unexpecteds will happen, and you're going to need to trust your real estate professional to help you pivot. Things are likely not going to go as smoothly as you plan, rarely do, but when they don't, it's okay to call and cry to your real estate professional and say, I need your advice. How do we get through this?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's always tough, because we always try to set expectations. Here's what you might encounter along the way. And I like when, sound like I repeat myself, I like when something happens and they say, you told me this, something like this might happen. And like, oh, good, you were prepared. You're not freaking out. And that's always a huge help to set expectations like that. Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
I think it's information overload. It's emotion overload, right? So
Right,
I agree,
yeah.
and I handle my mortgage practice the same way. Typically, I think mentally most people can only handle 2 steps ahead. So when we have, they tap out after that. I do too if I'm not a specialist in something, right? So, you go over in depth verbally the first 2 targets, but then give that full path, that full journey to the end zone. And then that way, okay, now we'll talk a little more deeply about the next 2 after we do the first, right? So that's a great method. I wanted to ask, shoot, I had it in my head. Oh, yeah. What would you say, like, the ideal age is of our parents when we should be trying to open the door to the conversation to prepare? You're smiling.
So, because the ideal age and when they're ready are 2 different ages, honestly, and it gets frustrating for the power of attorney or caregiver or power of attorney to be. It does. It's an emotional time for everybody. So in my mind, I just turned 58. I've already got my will in place. I've already got my healthcare proxy in place. I've talked to my attorney and they're like, might be a little too early to put it in a trust, but that's the next step as to, as we are planning. Because honestly, life brings us unexpecteds. And not being prepared for those unexpecteds are where a lot of challenges come from. And we just want to try to avoid as many as possible. You can't avoid them all. You need to trust the professionals, your estate planning attorney, your real estate professional, your senior housing specialist, which is someone who, and we have a great one out in Wilbraham, Katie Kripka. She, talks to them and helps them, guide them through the next steps, like alongside someone like me who's going to help them divest the asset, or just connect them with an estate planning attorney if they're going to retain the asset. So I'm already making those plans now.
Okay, yeah. In my head, I'm thinking, to me, I want to have the conversation before we're in the heat of it, and so I don't know, the number 50 keeps coming in my brain because I'm 40 something years old. I have college kids, and I'm in that, like you said, that part of life where we thought daycare was bad, but college gets worse. They're a little more expensive then. A little more, you got to watch them a little more. But so I feel like, come 50, I'm out of that rut, right? The older kids are somewhat probably out of college at that point.
Self-sufficient at that point.
Yeah, and like I'm not empty nest too. So maybe, I should think about myself and sort of forward what that looks like. And I know it's really early if your kids are 20, 25, whatever, but just for myself to get a little bit ahead of that. We don't have to set up a trust or anything, but what are some resources, just for the listeners? It's intimidating to reach out to a professional before you feel like you're actually ready and need it. What are maybe, at 50 years old, when my parents are fine and healthy, my in-laws, but my kids are great too, and I'm in this little what's next phase. What are a couple things that should be targeted right away to maybe start preparing?
It's always good to have an attorney that you know and trust, and that they specializes in estate planning.
Okay.
So, in the interest of full disclosure, he is my neighbor, my personal attorney, as well as my business attorney. But Paul Berry out of Wilbraham does estate planning. Out in Chicopee, you've got Jillianis and LaFave, also excellent. Sarah Miller, who is out in East Long Meadow, also a good resource. I primarily work a lot of Hampton County, though I am licensed, throughout the Commonwealth, and I work within Pioneer Valley. But I do it, I'm based in Wilbraham.
Yeah.
We have offices in Chicopee and Northampton, but so I'm based in Wilbraham. So I tend to think real estate is a lot local, even though you have expertise to work just about anywhere as long as you're staying on top of things. But I do tend to focus primarily on Hampton County. For myself, because it's what I know best. I've lived here my whole life.
The trends are definitely hyper-local.
Yeah.
I mean, one town to the next, Well, I guess we can, get on something else I wanted to touch on with you because you gave us some great statistics here. I just got to find them. They're highlighted on your page, Mike. But, obviously, the planning phase is done. They're ready to go. They're hitting the end of the journey here, and they're ready to sell the house. And you had mentioned something. My highlighted notes are over there, but
would you like me to read them? To you?
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah. Go right ahead. Yes.
It was more or less of overpricing properties. Well, because it's a thing, and I think there's a trend change. There's something happening in the market over here right now. And consumer minds and news is usually about a 6-month lag of what's really happening today. So I personally am seeing that being a holdback. I don't know if you're...
So we're seeing more properties on the market, though still down, inventory-wise from last year.
Down compared to last year, you mean?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the RAPV, Realtor Association of Pioneer Valley, see, even I can't say it, and I've been there for 12 years. So RAPV put out their recent statistics, and inventory is down. At the top of my head, I'm going like 12.9%.
Yeah,
almost 13%.
12.9%, but median price was up like 1.8%.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, which is in Pioneer Valley, $397,000. Let's put this in perspective, okay? So I built in 1999. I built a 3,200 square foot house in Wilbraham on almost 2 acres for less than that. So put that in perspective. When I got into real estate in 2014, we were on our upswing from the crash.
Yep.
And we have continued to rise. The pandemic really brought us conditions that were unprecedented in real estate. And we are now seeing a readjustment because of that. Interest rates, as you know, have risen, but they were historically crazy low. And in my lifetime, I doubt I'll see those again.
Correct.
But then again, when I was in banking in the late 80s, early 90s, we were at interest rates of 11, 12, 13, 14%. So, hey, it's all stuff
Mine was
we deal with.
14 3/4. Yeah. It's crazy.
And honestly, that 3% interest rate is why you're seeing a lot of low inventory, because why am I going to give that up?
Right.
I'm going, median price has has only been on the way up. I'm trying to get as much for my property as my property purchase as possible, and why am I, if I'm a repeat buyer, which is a lot of my market, why am I giving up that 3% rate? Like, holy crap! And now I got to go to what, 6.5? Like, depending upon credit score. I mean, that's fluid, but a little fluid. But seriously, like, why am I doing that to myself?
Well, life events is what I'm seeing when
Exactly.
people are exchanging homes.
They have to.
It's no choice. Life changes, and that's why real estate always does keep moving. It's not always just based on the numbers, and obviously you experience that with your specialty.
Yeah. And getting back a little bit on that topic of the question you asked about overpricing. So because of that market shift, you have to be careful. So, like, could I win a listing by telling you, sure, we can list it at that, but the data set says we should be listing here? Sure, I could win a listing by promising you that. But am I helping you? Am I setting your expectations here when we should be here? And then I gotta talk to you for months about price reductions? Okay, which conversation is an easier conversation to have? The nice thing is that, I'll tell you what you want to hear. You might not like it, but ultimately it's your decision how you do it. But it never works. It didn't work in 2014. It doesn't work now. So, if you are overpricing because you want room to negotiate and you don't get offers, you have nothing to negotiate with anyway.
Another thing I'm seeing, and it's a little more recent, maybe not people who've bought pre-COVID, because there's a pre-COVID whole thing, right? Or maybe a little after COVID too, but people who bought after COVID, maybe 3 years after COVID, bought at a peak. And I am seeing life events happening where those people have to sell. And maybe buy something else or whatever's happening in life, but they have to sell. And, they do have high interest rates, so of course motivation to, I just talked to a new client yesterday, 7.5% on his old mortgage. But the values are really high. So are you finding, well, maybe not because of the niche you're in. You have someone who's probably lived in their home a long time. But
and they probably don't have a mortgage.
Yeah, they probably have tons of equity. But, I mean, do you anticipate those newer, within the last 3 to 4 years going to place on market are going to struggle maybe a little more due to the lack of
inventory and also the increased equity,
Yeah, the appreciation there slows down.
Exactly. It makes it harder for them because you bought at the peak. If you bought, at the peak of the market, it's hard because what will you get? What won't you get? I mean, from an equity perspective, you're probably going to still do okay, but
do you find they may want to list really, really high, and then they're stunting themselves because now they're... I have a situation right now with a client in East Long Meadow. Great house, $325 they listed it for. It's a colonial 3-bed, 2-bath. It's lived in, but they can't sell that house. It's dropped under $300 at this point.
Yeah,
and she's getting close to being underwater, and I have a couple short sales, so I'm not saying the market's crashing. I'm just saying I feel like there's a bubble there where when life changes and people have to move on, if it's in the last, so when I'm, consulting a client, it's always, listen, especially with like down payment assistance, you have to commit for at least 5 to 10 years to this, or you will be, maybe you won't have enough money to even pay that realtor to go sell your house, And
having that conversation is so important at the outset because that's going to avoid pitfalls later, honestly. Because if you set that, again, it comes on setting expectations, but what are your goals? I'm a big fan of consultations, pre-listing, pre-buying consultations. It's very rare for my safety, but also for the betterment of the consumer who may become your client, that you take a step back, do it right, have a half-hour consultation, whether it's Zoom, FaceTime, or in person. I like in person because it tends to flow better.
Definitely.
But again, like flexibility in helping your client the best way you can, whichever way they want it. That half an hour to have that consultation, to bring up some things. A potential client should be talking more. And I've had to shift that because ask anybody, I talk a lot. Okay?
It's a practice for sure to ask questions, stop and listen.
And I have a lot of knowledge and blah, blah, blah. Even I did it recently. I was showing a condo in Wilbraham and I want to share my knowledge Shut up. Zip your lip. listen.
Well, right, because I think we have so much knowledge, and I, you know, my knowledge is very technical, right? And I do. You just hit on sort of one of my struggles is I want to give them the data, but you have to give it to it in a prescription kind of way, and you can't do that if you don't listen. And you know, when I'm doing my consultations, sometimes the clients go, "Why do you need to know that? Why do you need to know where I live now and what that looks like?
Yeah.
Why do you need to know what's happening in my apartment right now or in my house?"
Yeah.
Well, I do need to know because I need to know how urgent your situation is. I need to know what time frame we're playing with. If I have time to correct your situation or make it stronger, like there's so much around a simple question. Tell me about where you live now. But they get a little confused. You know, and just thinking about what you're saying about consulting on listing appointments. If you have someone sitting in your house and they're a yes ma'am kind of person, they're probably not giving you the right advice, especially in today's market, you know, because you know, you're personally attached to your home and you want it. It's making me rich. No. I want to get the most money as possible, right? And right. I think anyways, just real
conversations. But real
yes,
conversations
exactly.
are important. And honestly, there's a lot of great agents in our marketplace.
Yes.
A lot of great agents. A lot of great agents. There are also a lot of agents, you know, who need a little bit more education. But that's part of what the Realtor Association of Pioneer Valley does. Mm-hmm. They educate. If you're a Realtor member, and Realtor members are only about a third of the licensees in the Commonwealth, believe it or not.
Wow.
So, but it's important to ask, like, you know, what training are you taking? That's why I got my senior real estate designation. That's why I got my accredited buyer representatives designation. Because I'm taking extra education so that I know what I can say to somebody, I know what I'm doing. It's why I take more than my required continuing education. And the Realtor Association has this great thing called If the Realtor Only Known. They're educational, they're timely topics. Mm-hmm. Always educating yourself. Volunteering with the Realtor Board and sitting on and talking about professional development. Being dedicated to your professional development and personal development is highly important in this field. I can't stress it enough.
Absolutely, and being in a village, I think RAPV provides that too, because there's a lot of cloud-based brokerages right now, and you're on an island. How do you keep up? You know, so yeah, RAPV I think is a great resource for the real estate community around here. Lenders too. Yeah. We're involved too, you know. So
exactly, and we treasure our affiliate members like no tomorrow. Like it's great, and I encourage anybody that's a partner in the real estate industry to consider becoming an affiliate there, because there is that support there, access to real estate professionals, and just even from a networking perspective, it's so crucial. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, just leaning on each other's experiences and having availability to take that higher learning to serve better. Mm-hmm. We need to. Everyone needs to step it up in this market for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had another topic, but I just wondered what your thoughts are about people who decide, and I spoke with a few people over this past week who said, yeah, we're not going to start off with a realtor, we're going to try to sell it ourselves. What are your thoughts about how that's all happening, and what do you think people learn from it?
So I've actually had, during the height of the pandemic even, because the thought is, oh, I don't need an agent because the market's moving so swiftly and people are overpaying. I can take some pretty pictures, stick a sign in the yard, say my house is for sale, and ta-da, my house sells. And you know, and for some people that have enough expertise and a really good attorney, maybe that works. But attorneys are not real estate agents. Mm-hmm. They don't serve the same purpose. And honestly, laws change in Massachusetts all the time. As you most likely know, we had a new law that came out last year regarding inspections. During the height of the pandemic, buyers felt they needed to make a lot of concessions, and one of those concessions, and why you have 75% of those buyers that are unhappy with their real estate purchase, is because they had no idea what they were doing because they waived their inspections. Yeah. And however it happened, and that was a problem. You can't do that anymore. And there's an actual document that sellers, whether or not there's a licensee involved, have to sign, have to complete. Mm-hmm. If you don't know that information, guess what? you have set yourself up for a big violation of the law and triple damages and bad stuff. Also, there are mandatory disclosures that a licensee can talk to you about that you need to be aware of. And what price point do you put on somebody's ability to negotiate? Do you do this every day? If you don't, then you shouldn't be selling your own house. But also, as an aside to that, one of the things that is really big out here in this market and everywhere is flippers. And people have distressed properties and just automatically want to go, don't treat your house like your car.
Yeah.
It's not your car. Okay, it's not a push, pull, or tow. At least have a conversation with a real estate professional about it so that you know what you're getting is market value.
Right. I mean, they're emotional. They're desperate in that someone's approaching you to buy your house because it's distressed and they know you're probably underwater, maybe facing foreclosure. Have one more conversation outside of that with a realtor, and then you weigh out what your best choice should be.
Exactly.
And
Make
I think
the choice that works for you.
because there's a lot of emotional
I will tell you that
desperation in
about 5 or 6 years ago, I had a 2-family home. Had it for many years, and family moved in and out. I had lived there earlier, moved out, but I kept keeping the house because family had to move in, and I'm going to sell it now. Oh, wait, my nephew has to move in. I'm going to sell it now. No, anyway, after a while, finally I said, you know what? I know what I'm doing. I was in the mortgage business. I can handle this. And I started to do it, and I said, you know what? This is going to be a headache. But I also, too, one of the things that I learned, and I should know better, of all people, I had a certain price because I know I was influenced by other people. Oh, yeah, you probably won't get that for the house. But I said, well, then I'll price it moderately. I had a number. And I said, well, if I get that number, home run, I'll be happy. So I was about to do it myself. Anyway, I stopped, paused, thought about it, talked to a few friends. A realtor, I said, all right, list the house. They listed the house, and they got 20 grand more than my top point. And I thought, well, that paid for the commission.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
it saved me a lot of headaches and the showings and the time. I
Right.
said, well, what was I thinking? So I learned from it, too. Something I knew anyway, but it comes back at you because you're right. You just think, oh, this shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly what happened. At the end of the day, my clients came back to me and said, you know what? I made more money than I expected.
Right.
And I wasn't trying to negotiate with a buyer for inspections and other things, either reducing my price at the beginning because I was saving commission, so the buyer felt they could use that to their advantage, or getting really hit on inspections. Every time someone's brought me in afterwards, they've said, thank you, thank you, thank you. You saved me a lot of headache.
What does an inspection cost now? Ballpark?
Depends, but you're usually talking anywhere from $600 to $1,000. Depends on what you do, and your agent will advise you as to what they recommend. But it's always the buyer's decision, and they should have a conversation with their inspector.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's a huge thing. I mean, for call it $600, $700, $800. What you could find will pay for itself many times over, or save yourself headaches or longer costs because something gets revealed that would have cost you money to fix afterwards.
Exactly.
It's to state the obvious here, you know. But there's so much more, and I thought we could probably talk for a long time about all kinds of things. We'll have you back.
Sure. Always open to talking. Real estate, always.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Sort of a
actually,
sickness.
yeah.
For me too.
I think the public has a different version of what we do.
Yes.
And we're not good at communicating what we do.
Right.
And it's okay because no one wants to go around, hey, look at how valuable I am. Look at what I'm going to do for you. That's okay. But the reality is that as real estate professionals, we wake up unemployed every day, just like you do. Anybody that's a fully commission base, you have to have a passion for it. You have to be good at it. And I've worked with some clients for years. And sometimes they close and sometimes they don't. And that's just the nature of the beast. It's what I take on as a real estate professional.
Yep.
And that value is hard to communicate without sounding like you're self-serving.
Right.
The reality is we bring a lot of value to the real estate transaction. Would you consider trying to do it without an attorney, which you can't in Massachusetts, but would you try to consider doing that? No. At least have a conversation with a real estate professional first before you decide to handle things yourselves. Know what your options are, and then make the best choice that works for you and your situation.
Yep. Data collect. Well, think we have to wrap it up. But how could someone get a hold of you, Cheryl, if they wanted to have that conversation?
The nice thing is I used to do social media marketing, and I'm also a published author, just like you
I
are.
know you wanted to bring that up. But
So I am all over the internet.
Great.
So best way to reach me is probably on my cell phone, which is tattooed to my backside. The number's 413-575-5751. You can reach me by email. I won't try to spell that all. I won't give that to you, but if you post it on your channel, that'd be great.
We will. We'll have
because
the
it's my
links there.
long last name and it's bad. And I am on the hbrealestate.net broker page. You can find me there under our team. And again, put me into Google. You will find me. I am all over the internet because I love it.
And it's Cheryl Malandrinos. If
Yes,
you can spell it out.
Malandrinos.
Malandrinos. Cheryl Malandrinos at HB Real Estate in Wilbraham. Thank you very
yes,
much.
thank you so much.
Yeah, and how do people reach us, Angela?
They can like and subscribe to our YouTube page. All our contact information is there. And it is always best to text. So my direct phone number is 413-302-2215. And you can always just shoot me a quick text, just like Cheryl here. I'm always open for a consultation to get to know you a little bit more, maybe wave that magic wand and set up those goals. So if you haven't yet, go grab a copy of the book and make sure you do like us.
Well,
and
speaking
subscribe.
of books, what is the title of your book? We didn't get...
Which one?
Well,
So
yeah.
the one that's more easily available, because 3 of them are out of print because my poor publisher has gone out of business, is A Christmas Kindness. Under my current name. It's available on my website, ccmalandrinos.com. So Christmas presents are always a good thing. Reading is a good thing to give to people. They're in free libraries upon occasion. You might stumble upon them if you don't want to pay for it. Online reviews are always a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes. We love those too.
You know,
Amazon.
over on Goodreads and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm seeking literary representation. I have finished a book for the adult market, working on the second in the series, and you know, God willing and dedication and motivation, it'll happen.
A book on the adult market is published. It's out there. What's the name
Not
of it?
yet. It's not yet. It's with seeking literary representation, so it's with a literary agent now.
Okay.
It will be Small Town Romance. So think Hallmark movie
Ooh.
In book format.
Okay. I'll pick that one up. Let me know when it's out.
Hey, beta reader.
Beta
Reader. Always
yeah.
good.
Sign me up.
Thanks. I'm glad we got to talk about that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Cheryl.
Bonus.
All right. And thanks,
for-
everybody.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Always a pleasure. We'll have you back.
We'll see you next
Awesome.
time.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
See ya.